Hey, all right, Shalom. Shalom. We the brothers, Great Millstone. Come on, another lesson through the Spirit. First and foremost, all praise, honor, and glory be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakat Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, salutations to all you brothers who preach the gospel in truth and in sincerity, always in charity. And as you can see, the title, it's called "The Time of the Gentiles is Over," because that's exactly what's taking place, man. It's the downfall of these heathens' rulership, man. Which the head heathen being Esau, Edom. But pretty much we're gonna go through the history, man, and we're gonna show once and for all. That's been showed numerous times over and over, and through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is gonna be continually showed until He returns, man. That salvation is only for Israel. So when we go throughout the pages and we go throughout this book and we find out who the ones that's been oppressed, who the ones that's in need of help, that's in need of a savior, So we're gonna let the Bible talk after this.
This is Luke chapter 21, starting at verse 24. It says, "And they shall fall."
You can get straight to the
point.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 24 says, "And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled."
So it said what? We should be slain by the sword, and we should be carried away captive unto all nations, which was the curse that was put upon us. Can you jump to Deuteronomy 28:64?
Okay. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 64. It says, "And the Lord Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone."
Yep, even wood and stone. So it said what? We was led captive into all the kingdoms of the earth, man. Which lines up with this Luke. Now, in the Luke, what was taking place, what Yahweh was speaking of was what? The 70 AD. About the destruction of the temple, the atrocities that took place during that time in Masada, the different things that took place. The Israelites fled into Egypt and the surrounding areas, into Europe, into Asia, and then it said Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, right? Now, it's a scripture in Maccabees. This is 2 Maccabees 5:19, because as we read in Luke 21 and 24, it said that Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So this is 2 Maccabees 5:19. It says, "Nevertheless, the Most High did not choose the people for the place's sake, but the place for the people's sake," man. So when it speaks about Jerusalem being trodden down to the Gentiles, it's actually talking about the people. It's talking about us as a nation being trodden down to the Gentiles, man, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So now we're going to go into the time of the Gentiles and explain what that is. Can you get Zechariah 1 and I think it's verse 19?
This is Zechariah chapter 1.
You start at 18.
18, it says, "Then lifted I up mine eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns.
Mm-hmm.
And I said unto the angel that walked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah."
Now, mind you, there are 4 horns. Horn represents power. So these are the 4 kingdoms that was put into power, which represent the horn, which scattered Jerusalem. Right? Go ahead.
It says, "And I said unto the angel," or Salaki, "And then lifted I up mine eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem."
So that's the whole kingdom right there. Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem, man. You see? So all 12 tribes were scattered throughout the earth, man. Not just Judah, not just the southern kingdom. No, all 12 tribes were scattered throughout the earth.
That's right.
You see? And it spoke about the 4 horns. Let's see what those 4 horns are. Can you go to Daniel, the 2nd chapter?
Come. This is Daniel chapter 2. And just to point, because even though the northern kingdom came over here after the Assyrian captivity, when the conquistadors came over to the land of the Americas, they forced them into a slave trade as well. All right, shipping off to Spain, Portugal, various lands, man, and a company of ships, man. So they went through a slave trade as well and were scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. But this is Daniel chapter 2, and starting at verse 31. Is that what you
Daniel 2.
Image?
Yep.
This is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 31. It says, "Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth."
Right. So this is Daniel recounting Nebuchadnezzar's dream unto him, man. You know, about how he seen the big statue, the gold, the silver, the brass, you know, the iron mixed with clay, you know. So he seen this statue, he seen the stone come out and smite it against the feet. So he's recounting his dream unto him, right?
Verse 36. "This is the dream, and we will tell thee the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the power of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the heaven, hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold."
Thou art this head of gold. Who is he talking to? He's talking to Nebuchadnezzar. Can you go to Daniel 7 and 1?
This is Daniel chapter 7 and verse 1. It says, "In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed."
So now this is Daniel's vision. Go ahead.
"Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings."
So now when you go into this, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. Now, when you go to the Assyrian empire, you can see their symbol was what they were called a griffin. A griffin is a lion with eagle's wings. You see? That was a pretty much, for lack of a better word, the symbol of the Assyrian empire, right? Go ahead.
It says, "I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man."
And that's talking about Nebuchadnezzar, you know? So it goes into those wings being plucked. How was those wings plucked? Nebuchadnezzar took over the Assyrian empire. Hence why the head of gold is called the Assyrian Babylonian Empire, because Babylon absorbed all the Assyrian provinces that it had throughout.
It says, "And a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second."
And it says a man's heart was given to it. So that's Nebuchadnezzar, you know, which represent what? The Assyrian Babylonian kingdom. So now we spoke about the horns that scattered Jerusalem. Now that first horn being the Assyrian Babylonians, which they tied together. Why? Because this is 2 Kings 17 and I guess 23. I started 22. It says, "For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight. And as he had said by all his servants, the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cutha and from Ahava and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, and they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof." You know, So pretty much that horn, which that kingdom scattered the kingdom of Israel, man. You know, so that was a part of what the diaspora of the Israelites leaving out of Israel. You know, and that was done by what? The Assyrian kingdom. Same thing that took place during the Babylonians when they ransacked the temple, when the Edomites came and helped them destroy the temple, and they carried us away captive. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, just back in that Daniel.
Mm-hmm. You go back to the Daniel, the second chapter.
This is Daniel chapter 2, and verse 37. It says, "Thou, O King, art a King of kings, for the power of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory." All right, so the Lord had given the kingdom unto Nebuchadnezzar, just like in this time period, the Lord has given the kingdom unto Esau, Edom. And just a quick precept, just to show you that the Lord gave the kingdom to Nebuchadnezzar at this time, which proves that the Lord is in control of all these nations, man. Who's on top and who's on bottom, and everything like that, man. The scripture says promotion doesn't come from the east and to the west, but it comes from the Heavenly Father, man. So he controls who's in rulership. And right now, hey, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. And who's the wicked? Malachi 1:4, the nation of Edom. So that's who the Lord has ordained to rule in this time period, man. Pursuant to in the book of Daniel, it says as well that the Lord set upon it the basis of men, roughly paraphrasing.
Yeah, 4 and 12.
I'll grab it real quick. This is Daniel chapter 4 and verse 17. It says, "This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men." So that's who's ruling right now, the basis of men, the lowest of all the heathen, being Esau, Edom, man. And this is a quick precept, Jeremiah chapter 27, in verse 5, it says, "I have made the earth, the man, and the beast that are upon the ground, by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me. And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant. And the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him. And all nations shall serve him, and his son and his son's son, until the very time of this land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him." So that's right, man. So the only reason that these nations are in rulership is because of our disobedience. And during the times of our disobedience, that Lord had various nations of people to rule while we were serving out our punishments. But going into the title of this lesson, we're at the end of the Gentiles, man. We're at the end of these various nations ruling, man. But I'll jump back to that in Daniel.
No, I got what you had quoted too. Psalm 75 in verse 6, it says, "For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another."
Right, he putteth down one and setteth up another. So he will put down one kingdom and set up another kingdom, pursuant to the book of Sirach, the 10th chapter. All right, it says, "Because of unrighteous dealings and injuries, riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people unto another." So right now, who's ruling? Esau, Edom. But what is being translated from Esau, Edom unto another people? Who's that other people? The nation of Israel, being the elect of you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and the rest of the Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, which we brought out of Deuteronomy 28 and 64, man. So this is back in Daniel chapter 2 and verse 37 again. It says, "Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the power of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory." Speaking of Nebuchadnezzar. "And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise."
Right. So then it spoke about what? The second kingdom, which shall be inferior unto the Babylonian kingdom, right? So that second kingdom that came up, can you go back to Daniel 7 chapter?
Yep. This is Daniel chapter 7. in verse
because Nebuchadnezzar pretty much absorbed the Assyrian kingdom, which Nebuchadnezzar himself was an Assyrian, you know. So that's why Assyrian and Babylon is tied together, you know. So then who took down the Babylonians? Let's go into that.
God, this is Daniel chapter 7. I'm going to read verse 4 again. It says, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it.
Right now, this kingdom, this bear, which represent what? The Persian kingdom. It said what? It rose up on one side because this was a joint kingdom. That's why it's called the Medo-Persians. That's right. You know, the Medes were Japhetic. The Persians, which were East Indians, are Elamites, man. You know, so this is a joint kingdom. That's why I said the bear rose up on one side. The one side was the Elamite side because those were the kings, you know, Cyrus and Xerxes and so forth, right? And it said it had 3 ribs in his mouth. Those 3 ribs was the 3 cities that they conquered, which those 3 cities represent Media, Lydia, and Egypt, right? Go ahead.
It says, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it.
And those are the 3 cities. Go ahead.
And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh.
Mm-hmm.
After this I beheld.
Okay, so it said, arise and devour much flesh, because this kingdom was vast, man. Now you read in the book of Esther, it speaks about Ahasuerus, which another name for him in history is Xerxes. He had over 100. He had 127 provinces, which that's equivalent to today of the United States being 127 states. The United States has 50 states, but the Persian Empire had 127 states. So you can better understand, you know. And what was going on during the Persian Empire? Because we read about how the Assyrians scattered Israel. We read about how the Babylonians scattered Judah, right? So now this is the Persian Empire. So let's read about that. This is the book of Esther. Salaki, bear with me real fast. This is the book of Esther. The 3rd chapter and the 8th verse. I get straight to the point. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom. So it's letting you know that what? The Israelites were scattered throughout all 127 provinces of the Persian kingdom, man. It says, and their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them, man. So that's what one of those horns that scattered Israel, Judah, and Jerusalem that we read in Zechariah, the 1st chapter, you know?
Back in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6. Yep, it says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings.
because the next beast which came after Babylon, I just get it. This is Daniel 5 and straight to the point, verse 30. And that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. You know, which Darius the Mede was pretty much what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? It's like under.
Oh, I see.
Like pretty much like a general into Cyrus. You know what I'm saying?
Like a vice president.
Like the water. You know what I'm saying? Right? Because the Medes and Persians were together. You know. So it's letting you know that the Persian and Medes took down the Babylonian Empire, which was that bear, right? So now we're speaking about another kingdom, which is what? Like a leopard. Go ahead.
It says, Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6 says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Right. So it said what? That this beast was like unto a leopard, and it had 4 wings and 4 heads. You know? Can you jump over to the 7th chapter?
I'm in the 7th.
Oh, I thought you was in the 2nd chapter. Okay, you can read that again. You can read that again.
Okay, con. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, like a leopard, Salakia, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Which that's the 3rd kingdom. Now, the brother, this is Daniel 2:39 again. It says, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, which was what? The Persians, and another 3rd kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. So this 3rd kingdom, which represents the brass, is talking about what? This leopard that came out, right? So can you go to Daniel, the 8th chapter?
This is Daniel chapter 8.
You're going to start at the top.
In verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that it was at Shushan in the palace, which is the province of Elam.
Which let you know the Persians were Elamites, you know? Because Shushan was in the province of Elam. Shushan was the capital of the Persian Empire. Go ahead.
It says, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulay. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last.
Which is what? The bear that rolls up on this one side, man. So it's letting you know that it's talking about the Persians and the Medes. Which one was higher? It was the Persian side, right? Go ahead.
It says, I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast
right, because Iran is located what? In the east. So it pushed westward. So it was conquered to the west, to the north, and to the south. Go ahead.
It says, I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. Right,
because the Persian Empire was massive during that time. Like we said, 127 provinces, man. Go ahead.
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth.
So this is a he-goat coming from the west now, right? Go ahead.
It says, and touch not the ground.
And touch not the ground. So from there, we're going to go, can you jump down to verse 20 and 21?
Daniel chapter 8, verse 20. It says, the ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
Is the first king, which was who? This is 1 Maccabees 1. It says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, right? That he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. So it said, what did it say? It says, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, he won many strongholds. So when you go back to Daniel, the 8th chapter, it says he didn't touch the ground. What does that mean? That meaning he was conquering and conquering, man. Go ahead.
This is Daniel chapter 8 and verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground.
Which when you go to, when you look at a map, knowing geology, Greece is west of what? Iran. It's west of Israel. So he was coming from the west, you know. Go ahead.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
And we know who that notable horn is. It's talking about Alexander.
And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Why? Because the Lord had given it into the hands of Alexander. Because the Lord controls all this, man. Like we read, he putteth down one, he setteth up another. Go ahead.
Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken. And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
Boom. So now go back to Daniel 7 and read about the 4 wings and the 4 heads once again.
This is Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this, I saw,
and dominion was given to it. So now can you jump back to 8 and read verse 22?
Daniel 8 and 22. It says, now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power.
But not in his power. It's back in 1 Maccabees 1, verse 7 now. It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. You know? So those 4 generals, those 4 heads were Ptolemy, Seleucus, Cassander, and Lysimachus, man. So those were the 4 ones who actually stood and took over the 4 parts of Alexander's kingdom. And it said not in Alexander's power. Why? Because they're all put crowns upon their heads and their sons after them. You see? So this is all the time of the Gentiles that we're speaking of. And guess what? We suffered in every last one of these kingdoms. Read about the northern kingdom going into the Syrian captivity. Read about the southern kingdom going into the Babylonian captivity. Read the book of Esther and what we suffered during the Persian Empire. Read Maccabees to find out what took place during the Greek Empire. You see, we was catching hell all throughout these kingdoms. That's why Yahushua said what, man? Jerusalem shall suffer violence by the Gentiles, roughly paraphrasing that Luke, the 21st chapter. Yahushua also said the kingdom of heaven suffered violence. Who is the kingdom of heaven? How is the spirit world suffering violence? You know, it's talking about us, man. It's talking about the children of Israel. We are the children of the kingdom, you know.
I got one if I may.
Yes, sir.
Daniel chapter 9 and verse 12. It says, I'll start at verse 11. It says, yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him. Now, when you read in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, you read from verse 1 to 14, it tells you of all the blessings that will come upon us. And pretty much the totality of those blessings is that we will be set above all these nations, meaning that we wouldn't be under subjection. We wouldn't be under captivity. All right, we wouldn't be serving unto all these other nations, but we will be the ones that will be ruling over them, man. Now, as we're going through the history and all these captivities, we were the ones that were being beaten. We were the ones that were being servants in all these captivities, all right, scattered throughout them all, the poor of these slaveries that we were underneath. It says, therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him. So it's giving you the reasonings why we were at the bottom, why we were in slavery, man. Because what? We sinned against our power. Verse 12, and he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges, that judged us by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem.
That's it.
So that's plain, man. What's happening to the nation of Israel has not happened. Nothing is Salakia. What happened to the nation of Israel didn't happen to any of these other nations, man. This is the only reason why these nations were able to obtain kingdoms and authorities and rulerships out of our disobedience. Hence why they counseled together to keep us in a lower state, to keep us to sin against our power, because that's the only way that they could rule, you know. But just wanted to bring out that point. This is back in, let's see, Daniel chapter 7 or Daniel chapter
2.
That was 2. Maybe we jumped around. I'll read this again. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6 again. Come. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Which, that's the Greek Empire, right? Well,
verse 7, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Right. So it says, so it spoke about what, man? It had great iron teeth. You know, it broke in pieces and devoured, right? And it said it was diverse from all the beasts that was before it. Can you get First Maccabees, the 8th chapter?
Right here.
This is Daniel 2 and verse 40, because it's talking about the same kingdom. It's Daniel 2 and 40. And the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron. Didn't it say in the 7th chapter it had great iron teeth? It says, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. So the same thing is said in the 7th chapter, man. So what is this talking about? Go ahead.
This is First Maccabees chapter 8. And
you can start at
I'll start at 1. It says, now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans.
Oh, this is the 4th beast. It's talking about the Romans, because the Romans pretty much absorbed the Greeks. That's why it's called what? The Greco-Roman Empire. Go ahead.
Now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that join themselves unto them, and make a league of amity, the water, with all that came unto them, and that they were men of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute, and what they had done in the country of Spain for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold which is there.
Right. Okay. Can we jump down to verse 11?
God. It says, it was told him, this First Maccabees 8 and 11. It was told him besides how they destroyed and brought under their dominion all other kingdoms and isles that at any time resisted them. But with their friends and such as relied upon them, they kept amity. It says, in that they had conquered kingdoms both far and nigh, and so much as all that heard of their name were afraid of them. Also that whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign, and whom again they displace, finally, that they were greatly exalted.
And now when you read in this account in the Maccabees, when you read about them, man, they sound very honorable, which is, I agree with Apostle Tahar when he said he believes that this was the Japhites, you know, during the time of the Maccabees, that the Romans that were ruling during that time were Japhetic people. Because when you go to the history about Romans and Renalis, you know, they were Japhetic. Now Esau, just like how he always do, he snakes his way into there, man. You know, but nevertheless, it still stands that Esau followed the policy of being diverse from all the kingdoms. He followed their senate, you know. But go ahead.
Verse 14. Yet for all this, none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple to be magnified thereby. It says, moreover, how they had made for themselves a senate house, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered.
And that's what made the 4th beast diverse. You see, that's what made it diverse. This is 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter. This is 2nd Esdras 13. And get straight to the point. No, Salakia, 11. 2nd Esdras 11. It's 2nd Esdras 11 and 7. And I beheld, and lo, the eagle rose upon her talents and spake to her feathers, saying, watch not all at once, sleep every one in his own place, and watch by course, but let the heads be preserved for the last. And I beheld, and lo, the voice went not out of her heads, but from the midst of her body, which that body is talking about the Senate. Because when you read 2nd Esdras, the 11th chapter is actually going into the ancient Roman Empire, you know, which the feathers represents those Roman Caesars who reigned. You see? So the 4th beast is talking about the Roman Empire, which this is 2nd Thessalonians Yeah, the 2 Thessalonians 2. And I started 7, straight to the point. It says, for the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And who is letting it happen, man? The Most High, because this is all according to his plan. Until the Most High takes him out the way, man. You know? So the mystery of iniquity, which was the Roman Empire, was working during that time. And what were we suffering? The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, man. And the violent take it by force. Who was the violent? It was talking about the Roman Empire. You see? It was talking about the Roman Empire. That's why Revelation, the 20th chapter, spoke about what? That this devil being put down for a little season. That little season was during the Dark Ages. When Jake was ruling Europe. When Jake was ruling the Roman Empire. You see? And then it said what? That the devil must be loose for a little season. So he came out, what? He came out, it was his renaissance, which means his rebirth, which goes into the second half of the fourth beast. Can we go back to Daniel 7?
This is back in Daniel chapter 7, in verse 7. It says, and this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Mm-hmm. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, mm-hmm. before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
Right. So now when you go into history, how was America established? America is that little horn that came up, and it said it took down 3 of the other horns. Well, what was the 3 wars that America had to fight in order to establish itself as a country? The Spanish-American War, the England, the French War, and the war against England, man. Those are 3 horns, because Spain, French, and England is 3 of the 10 horns that's upon the beast. You see, and that little horn that came up took down those 3 horns, man. So it's letting you know this is talking about America. Go ahead.
It says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Mm-hmm. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things.
Which is your American system today, man. You see? Jump over to Daniel 2.
This is back in Daniel chapter 2 and verse
41.
41. It says, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes.
Hey, because this is still the second part of that 4th kingdom. This is what we living in today. This is the Roman Empire reborn all over again. Go ahead.
And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron.
You got strong countries like Germany. You got weak countries like Greece. You see? Go ahead.
For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
It's partly strong financially and partly broken, which means weak financially. This is Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter and the 6th verse. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And when you look at that word clay in the Hebrew, is the Hebrew word ibatyat, which means what? Heavy debts. So that clay mixed with iron represents the countries in debt and the countries that's financially stable. Mm-hmm. You see, which is this system today. How shall I say, the kingdom that's divided against itself cannot stand. And you see it taking place today with the Brexit, with the Frexit, you know, all this turmoil going on between these European countries, man. A kingdom that's divided cannot stand. Go ahead.
It says, verse 42, Daniel 2 and 42, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
Exactly. And what? You got 10 toes, you got 10 horns. It's the same thing. It's the same beast. It's the same empire. Go ahead.
And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
Right. It says mingle themselves with the seed of men is letting you know that this is talking about kingdoms of men. You see, these is men that's ruling these kingdoms. Now, this is Revelation 13:1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The thing that Daniel was seeing, right? It says, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, because hey, what's the beginning of Esau's power structure? It was the Greek Empire, right? It says, in his feet were as the feet of the bear. What's the end of Esau's power structure? It's going to be Russia, man. That bear, right? It says, in his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Where did he draw his power from? Or his financial stability? It comes from England, right? It says, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And that was Rome. Rome was wounded roughly 100. What was that? 193 AD, if I'm not mistaken, but roughly around there. You know, he came back into power. Roughly 1,000 years after that, man. That was his Renaissance. You know, so this is because I wanted to get that daily wound being healed.
Yeah, just a point, because during that before the Renaissance period, you have what they call the Dark Ages. All right, that's when the Byzantine Empire was ruling, man. That's when the so-called the Southern Kingdom was ruling over those provinces in Spain, Portugal, various places in Russia, and so on and so forth, man. All right, that was the time period where Esau Edom had chains around him, man, meaning that he couldn't come into rulership until that 1,000-year period was up, when the Lord allowed him to come out and deceive the earth, as it tells you in Revelation, I believe it's the 20th chapter, man.
This is Revelation 17, and I started at 5. It says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns, which letting you know it's the same power structure, man. And that woman which sitting on the beast is that little horn that came up. It's talking about America. It's Babylon the Great. It's verse 8. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit being what? Europe. Why? Because it lacked the minerals and the resources. The land is barren, right? It says, and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So it spoke about what? It says, and there are 7 kings. So those 7 heads represent 7 power structures, right? 5 are fallen. What was the one that fell? You see, Greece fell, which it absorbed Greece. Germania Minor, French, and Hispaniola, which is Spain. Those 5 was under the control of the Roman Empire, right? It says, and 1 is. Which one was it that is during that time? It was the Roman Empire that was ruling, right? So those are 6 heads that is explained right there.
Yeah, going back to that 2 Thessalonians, the mystery of iniquity that doth already work.
Yep.
It's already in rulership right now.
Yep. And it says, and the other is not yet come. What was that 7 head that didn't come yet? It was talking about England. It was talking about Britain, because that had to take place during what? Esau's Renaissance. So it says, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. That's the short space in Revelation that he was going to be loosed for that small season. It's verse 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7 and goeth into perdition. So it wasn't 8 heads on the beast. It was only 7. So it says this 8th is of the 7. So England gave power, gave birth unto America, which did what? Revived that sixth head, which was Rome. So it's the same power structure all over again. That eighth head is the sixth head. It's Rome being reborn all over again, which England gave it its power. That's why in the book of Jeremiah, it speaks about Babylon and his mother being confounded. Who is the mother of Babylon? It's talking about England. It's talking about Great Britain. You see? There's no way around these prophecies. This is history. This is biblical history. You know?
Yeah, go ahead. This is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 11. It says, because you were glad, because you rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. But it says that what? Your mother shall be sore confounded, man. Yep. So the nation that was to birth, all right, America, all right, the nation that the nation that America came out of, going back to Europe, all right, what it says that what Great Britain, Salaki, shall be sore confounded, and you see that happening in the news media right now. You see Britain coming up against America, having shame upon America. All right, you have like Angela Merkel, these various leaders in these nations over in Europe. They're saying that we don't even want Trump in our land, man. All right, they're ashamed of America, man. But just was bringing that out. This is back in Daniel chapter 2. We're in Daniel chapter 2 and verse 43. It says, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Exactly, because when Daniel was first recounting his dream unto him, it said he saw that stone that came out that was cut. You know, I'm gonna reread it. Daniel 2 and 34, thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces. Because ultimately, man, this is the last rulership of the Gentiles, man. That's why hence the name of the title is Time of the Gentiles is at an End. Can you get 2nd Esdras 6 and verse 7? You know, hey, because it spoke about that stone. Who is that stone? Yahweh Shai is a stone that the builders disallowed. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I'm gonna grab that too. You got it.
Kind of 2nd Esdras chapter 6 and verse 7. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? And when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that follows?
So when is the end of the time of the Gentiles, and when is the time of Israel? And you get that precept we was talking about earlier too in Isaiah the 63rd chapter.
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 63. And I'm going to start at verse 17. O Lord Yahweh, why hast thou made us to err from thy ways, and hardened our heart from thy fear? Return for thy servant's sake the tribes of thine inheritance. The people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while.
Right, and the Lord promised us what, man? That we would be above all these people. 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, Ezra said, look, man, if the world be made for our sakes, why do we not have an inheritance in it? Why do these heathens rule over us? You know? Go ahead.
It says, the people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while. Our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary.
Come on, who is the adversary? Who needs salvation after reading these things within these pages, man? Right. After going through the history and seeing the different kingdoms and the different atrocities that was done, who needs the salvation, man? Right. Just because Esau Edom, just because he ruling over these people with a continual stroke, like it says in Isaiah the 14th chapter, just because he's punishing these heathens too, does that mean that they need salvation? No, they got in bed with this devil. According to Psalms the 83rd chapter, man. They made a league with this devil, man. So now that he turned on them and whooping their ass too, no. They all came together to conspire against us, man. To come against the children of Israel. As it is written in Lamentations, the 1st chapter, the 21st verse, Lamentations, the 2nd chapter, the 15th verse. You see? Ezekiel, the 36th chapter, how these heathens laughed and said, aha, aha. Revelation, the 11th chapter, Baruch, the 4th chapter. Look at all these precepts, man, that speak about how these heathens rejoiced at our downfall, man.
And the scriptures refer to us, oh, captive daughter of Zion, man. Let you know that what? We're the ones that are in captivity, man. And this is a quick precept just on that point. Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? That's right, because what? When you read throughout our history, as we're going through, we were always going from one captivity to another captivity, man. All right, we had peace for about 40 years under King Solomon, man. All right. That's why that Isaiah, going back to that, Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 18, it says, the people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while, only a short time. But then when you read throughout the scriptures, that's why Ezra was questioning the Lord, like, when are we supposed to receive this rulership? You promised us all this inheritance, all this glory, the kingdom of heaven, but we only had a peace for 40 years. So why are these things happening? That's what the men of the Lord were always inquiring. When is going to be the end of these Gentiles ruling, man? All right, even in the book of Acts, the apostles asked the same question, man. I'll grab it real quick, which lets you know that it was clear that the kingdom of heaven was only for one group of people. That's why even when Herod got the prophecy that Yahushua was about to be born, he sought to kill him. Why? Because what? He knew that was the downfall of his kingdom. He knew that the Messiah was a sign of him losing his rulership, that he wasn't going to have a rulership anymore, man. It was going to be taken away from him, man. This is the book of Acts, chapter 1, in verse 6. It says, when they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? So it was plain and clear that they knew that the kingdom was for the nation of Israel. Mm-hmm. All right. It was no confusion about that, man. It says, and that's really it on that, on that point. This is the book of, jumping back to the book of Isaiah. I'm going to read this again, 63 and 18. The people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while. Our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary. Going back to a precept that we've been quoting in the book of Matthew. All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 11 and verse 12. It says, and from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. So we've been suffering the atrocities of being under these heathens for so long, man. So salvation has always had to do with what? Us getting the kingdom, man. Us receiving the promises, man. The Lord bringing down the rest of these nations to set us on high, as he promised us, all right, in the book of Deuteronomy, man. Throughout all the scriptures, Genesis, Abraham, man, Isaac and Jacob. That's why the scriptures always talk about the promises of our forefathers, man, for their seed to receive the inheritance of the kingdom of heaven, man, which will be established upon the planet Earth, man, breaking down the rest of these other kingdoms and us ruling on Earth,
You jump back to that.
Come. Yep. 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 8. It says, and he said unto me, verse 7, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau.
Right, because the Lord knew Esau would be what? The end of this world, man. That's right. Go ahead.
For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
There it is. So this is how we know we at the end times, man, because right. Esau, Edom is ruling. He's the last heathen ruler to rule, man.
That's it.
You see? And that's why this is the book of Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter, in the 13th verse. It says, thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even for salvation with thy anointed. Thou woundest the head out of the house of the wicked by discovering the foundation unto the neck. Salah. So who is the head of the house of the wicked? It's talking about Esau, Edom. And not only Esau, Edom, but the Lord is coming back. This is Sirach, the 36th chapter. Salakia. This is Sirach 36 and verse 10. Smite and sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen that say there is none other but we. Gather all the tribes of Jacob together and inherit thou them as from the beginning. O Lord, have mercy upon the people that is called by thy name, and upon Israel, whom thou hast named thy firstborn. You see? So that's who the Lord's compassion and mercy is going unto, man, his children. You know? The ones that suffer all these things at the hand of these heathens, man. So to go back to the Daniel about the stone being cut out. This is 1 Peter 2 and 6. It says, wherefore it is contained in scripture, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Who do we have to believe on? We have to believe on the only begotten Son of the Most High, which his name is Yahweh Shai. He is that stone. You see? So when you read 2nd Ezra, this is the 13th chapter, and I'm gonna start at the top. And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea that it moved all the ways thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Didn't it says that our Lord coming back with the thousands and thousands of heaven, man? Even Enoch prophesied of Yahweh Shai's return thousands and thousands of years before it actually took place. This is Jude, verse 14. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds, which they have ungodly committed, and of all their heard speeches, which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. You see? So even Enoch prophesied of the return of our Messiah, man, which he's coming with the thousands of heaven, as it is written in 2nd Ezra 13. This is verse 4 now. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire. The same thing that it says in Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter, man. He had horns coming out of his hands. Those horns is talking about bright beams, man. You see? It's talking about those laser beams, that concentrated fire coming out of those chariots. It says, verse 5, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea, which he came out of the sky. It says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain. What is mountains made out of? Rocks, man. You see? It says, and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. That's why it says, what? A stone that was cut without hands, man. You see? It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yes, durst fight. So that stone that's coming down to smite the feet is talking about Yahweh Shai coming down to deliver vengeance unto these heathens, man. And to gather his elect from the four corners of the earth so they can receive the salvation that's been prophesied within these pages. You know? Can you get a Luke 1 and 68? Mm-hmm.
This is all right, this is the book of Revelation, real quick, 19 and verse 11. It says, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. So this is the same thing that Ezra saw in 2nd Ezra 13th chapter, right? That great mountain, you know, that he couldn't see the end of it, man. This is speaking of that white horse, a so-called UFO, a chariot, man, which is declared in the scriptures as the chariot of Israel, man. All right, that's what Elisha called it, man. All right, when Elijah got beamed up in the chariot, what do you call it? He said, oh, Lord, this is the chariots of Israel, man. Mm-hmm. So these are what? The chariots of Israel. Why? Because this is for the salvation of Israel. All right, those chariots, those so-called UFOs are for the salvation of Israel and the destruction of the wicked, man.
I got you right here. This is the book of Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter, the 8th verse. It says, was Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai displeased against the rivers? Was thy anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea?
Right, because when the Lord comes back, he's going to bring great destruction, all right? Waves are going to be roaring, man. Tsunamis, you know, natural disasters, man. The scripture says that the Lord, that the earth is going to shake to and fro like a drunkard, man. All right, that's when, man, all them waves, imagine the earth literally rocking, man. Like if you have a cup of water, or you have a cup of water and you start shaking it, man, the water's going to spill everywhere, man. It's going to be rough. The same thing is when the Lord's going to bring in this destruction. Yep. All types of natural disasters, man. This place is going to literally be remapped, you know.
And also that concentrated fire from the chariots, man.
Exactly.
You know, hey, Elijah, he did a sacrifice. It was those prophets of Baal. He was scoffing them. They was cutting themselves and shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He was talking shit like, hey, is your God on a journey? Maybe cry louder. Maybe he's asleep, you know? But when Elijah did his sacrifice, what did he do, man? He put water around it. He put, I think it was like 3 times he poured water on it.
A trench of water he put around it as well.
You know? And then when he gave praises, what happened, man? It said fire came from heaven and consumed the sacrifice and licked up all the water. That was that fire from the chariot, man.
That's right.
So that fire from the chariot can evaporate water, man, just like those nuclear missiles can. You know? So, hey, was thy anger against the sea? Why do you have to dry up the sea? You know? That's great destruction that the Lord is bringing. It says, was thy wrath against the sea, that thou didst ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation? So here it is. He's bringing all that destruction, but he called it the chariots of salvation. Because it's simultaneous, man. When it is written in Wisdom of Solomon, 18th chapter, the 7th verse, it says, so if thy people was accepted, the salvation of the righteous and both destruction of the enemies, man. I just butchered that scripture, but hey, you brothers, hey, go get it, man. Revelation 18, Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter, and it's the 6th or 7th verse, man. You know?
This is that Luke chapter 1 and verse 68. It says, blessed be the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people.
Come on, man. And this is when the priest, I forgot his name, but the Lord told him that he wouldn't die until he seen Yahweh Shai, man. You know, I want to say his name is Zachariah. Is it Zacharias? I didn't want to be wrong, but hey, the Lord told him that hey, you wouldn't die until you see your salvation, man. So why is this priest talking about our people? I thought Yahweh Shai died for everybody. He coming to bring salvation for everybody. You see? You people have been very misinformed. It's not what the Bible says, man. Go ahead.
It says verse 69, verse 68, blessed be the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. So
we just went through this history and showed you who needs the salvation. Who was the ones that was suffering in all these different kingdoms, man? Who was the ones that was in the ghettos and being low and being mistreated? The same as it is today was the same as it was taking place in all these different kingdoms, man. And it's worse today because now this is the amalgamation of all them ancient kingdoms all together, being ruled by the most wickedest, vilest, basest men on this planet.
It says, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began.
That's all the prophets talked about, man. Was the salvation of who? Israel, man. That's who they prophesied about. The coming of the Messiah. When you go out into the prophecies, man, the Messiah was only coming to save his people. Go ahead.
It says that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us.
First Maccabees 2:10. What nation have not had a part in our kingdom and gotten of her spoil, man? All these heathens was a partaker in our downfall.
Verse 72, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant.
Come on, man. Romans 9:4. To whom pertaineth the adoption, the glory, the covenant, the promises, and the service of the Most High. For who is the fathers, and as concerning the flesh, Yahweh Shai came. You see?
It says, the oath which he sware to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear.
Might serve him without fear. That's why Hebrews speaks about what, man? The Lord couldn't swear on no higher, so he put it on himself. To show unto the heirs, who is the heirs? Those men who, matter of fact, finish that.
It says, verse 74, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear and holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life.
And that's a hell of a promise too, man. And the Lord is going to perform what he said. According to Numbers, the 23rd chapter, he is not a man that he should lie to you, the son of man that he should repent. You see? He said, have I spoken and shall I not make it good? You know? Can you get Hebrews 6 and verse 17? Hey, because this Daniel 2 and 44, I'm going to read it again. This Daniel 2 and 44 says, in the days of these kings, what kings? In the days of the iron mixed with clay. In the days of the 7 heads and the 10 horns, which is the time we live in now. So in the days of these kings, shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom, which is what you're seeing. The brothers standing upon their feet out there, those altars in the midst of Egypt, which is talking about the different camps that's out there prophesying the downfall of this wicked place, man. Different brothers, when they get together, do lessons like this, man. You see, this is the kingdom of heaven being built. That's why when we say we hope you're edified, that word edified means what? Built up, man. Amos 9 says we're repairing the breaches of the tabernacle of David. So we're rebuilding the tabernacles of David. We're rebuilding the kingdom of heaven. Each one of us is a stone. You see? And it's being built up in the time of these kings. It says, shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Can you get Psalms 2 and 8?
This is Psalms.
Because it said that this kingdom will break in pieces and consume all other kingdoms, man. And that this kingdom would not be left to other people. You see? So just let you know that Israel won't dwell alone safely according to the prophecy. Go ahead.
Psalms 2 and 8, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost part of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel.
And this is speaking to Yahweh Shai, man. This is what Yahweh Shai received of his father Yahweh, man. Go ahead.
Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings, be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way.
So that means what? Kiss the Son mean worship the Son, serve the Son. So you should have the mindset of the Son, because that's who you hoping to please. This is Revelation 3 and 21. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am sit down with my Father in his throne. He that have ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches, man. So Yahweh Shai received such great inheritance. What do you think we're going to receive? Can you get Romans 8? This is Revelation 2 and 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, just like how he received. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. And I will give him the morning star. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches, man. So it ain't mentioned nobody else within these passages, man.
This is Romans chapter 8, starting verse 16. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. And if children, then heirs, heirs of the Most High, and joint heirs with the Mashiach.
There it is, man. And who is that talking about? It's talking about the Israelites. You see? It's talking about the Israelites, man. That's what we're fighting for. We're hoping to be joint heirs with Yahweh Shai. So the kingdom in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, man, is going to beat in pieces all these other kingdoms, man. That's why Yahweh Shai had many crowns upon his head.
That's right.
You see?
It says, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together.
Right. So we got to go through the straight gate according to 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter, man. This is Israel. This is our portion on this side. This is Israel's portion that we got to go through the danger in order to get into the broad. The broad being the kingdom of heaven, wherein dwelleth all good things. You see?
For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us.
That's it. That's it. Jump to Hebrews.
This is Hebrews chapter 7, or Salaki, Hebrews chapter 6, starting at verse 16. For men verily swear by the greater, and an oath for confirmation is to them an end of all strife, wherein the Most High, willing more abundantly to show unto the heirs of promise.
Who is the heirs of promise? Romans 9, to whom pertaineth the promises? Who are Israelites? Yep. So it's only talking to Israel.
It says, willing more abundantly to show unto the heirs of promise the immutability of his counsel, confirmed it by an oath.
The immutability, meaning the unalterable, the unchangeableness of his counsel, man. Go ahead.
It says, wherein the Most High, willing more abundantly to show unto the heirs of promise the immutability of his counsel, confirmed it by an oath, that by two immutable things, in which it was impossible for the Most High to lie, we might have a strong consolation, who have fled for refuge to lay hold upon the hope set before us, which hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, and which entereth into that within the veil.
Within the veil, because Yahushua went into the veil, man, the Holy of Holies, man. And through Yahushua, we're able to enter in after him, man. You know? Which hope we have, the hope of getting out of this vile ass body, the hope of receiving salvation, man. The hope of hearing, well done, my good and faithful servant. The hope of being at rest in the kingdom of heaven, man. You see?
Whither the forerunner is for us entered, even Yahushua, made an high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek.
That's right. That's right. From there, if you get Psalm 72, we're gonna stop to wrap it up.
This is Psalm chapter 72.
You can start at the top.
In verse 1, it says, give the king thy judgments, O Yahweh, and thy righteousness unto the king's son.
Right now, when you now the prologue on my scriptures, it says this. It says, David praying for Solomon, showeth the goodness and glory of his kingdom in type and in truth of Yahushai's kingdom. He blesseth the Most High. So it's all tied together, right? So let's read this.
It says, give the king thy judgments, O Yahweh, and thy righteousness unto the king's son. He shall judge thy people with righteousness, and thy poor with judgment. The mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness. He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressor.
Who is the oppressors? Those horns that scattered Israel. That's been oppressing us, man.
That's right.
Go ahead.
They shall fear thee as long as the sun and the moon endure throughout all generations. He shall come down like rain upon the mown grass, as showers that water the earth. Is he, Salaki, in his days shall the righteous flourish?
Shall the righteous flourish, man. Right? Go ahead.
In abundance of peace, so long as the moon endureth. He shall have dominion also from sea to sea, and from the river unto the ends of the earth.
Did King Solomon have dominion from sea to the river to the ends of the earth, man? So it's letting you know, it's talking about King Solomon's kingdom, which is talking about Yahushua's kingdom by default. They're one and the same. Go ahead.
They that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust.
According to Isaiah, the 60th chapter, it says that the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall be destroyed, man. Isaiah, the 49th chapter, it says they shall come bowing and they shall lick the dust of our feet. Who is this talking about? Who is the ones that's going to be bowing? Who's the ones that's going to be building up the kingdom of heaven? If anybody, and if any and everybody can be saved.
It says the kings of Tarshish and of the isles shall bring presents. The kings of Sheba and Seba shall offer gifts.
Which written in Isaiah the 60th chapter, man. Our gates shall be open continually, man, to bring in the forces of the Gentiles.
Yea, all kings shall fall down before him. All nations shall serve him.
That's it, man. So the time of the Gentiles is up. Now it's the time of Israel. And that time is an everlasting time, too. It's going to endure forever and ever, man. Go ahead.
For he shall deliver the needy when he crieth, the poor also in him that hath no helper.
In him that hath no helper. Who is the helpless ones that's here on this planet today, man? Did not the Lord say, oh, Jacob, thou worm? When you look at a worm, what defenses do a worm has? Nothing, man. That's what we are. You see? We ain't got our own country with nuclear capabilities and shit. Look at the rest of these nations, man. They straight. They enjoying their time that the Lord gave them to rule over us. Nobody told them to get in bed with Esau, Edom, who's the fuck boy of the whole earth, who's fucking them over. This is their time to rule along with Esau, Edom, man.
And the scripture says, who shall bemoan thee, O Israel? You know, these nations didn't care the estate that we were in. And in Revelation, the 11th chapter, it says that they suffered not to bury us in graves. These other nations know who we are. They know that we're the children of Israel, but they didn't come out and declare those things unto us, man. Nah, they rejoiced at our downfall, man. They sent gifts one to another, as the scripture says, man. All right, sending us as slaves from one nation to another. You know, they partook in this, man. That's why they're all going down, man. Esau just has the worst judgment of them because he's did the worst unto us out of all the nations. But all these nations, like the brother quoted, man, in the book of Maccabees, were partakers of our downfall, man. And spoiling us, man, benefiting off of us, man, not knowing who we are and being in this lower state. It says in verse Salaki, Psalms chapter 72, in verse 13, he shall spare the poor and needy and shall save the souls of the needy. He shall redeem their soul from deceit and violence, and precious shall their blood be in his sight. And he shall live, and to him shall be given of the gold of Sheba. Prayer also shall be made for him continually, and daily shall he be praised. There shall be an handful of corn, and the earth upon the top of the mountains, the fruit thereof shall shake like Lebanon, and they of the city shall flourish like grass of the earth.
Man, you know, we're just talking about what? The abundance of all things, man. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. The earth is going to go back to its rightful course, man. It's going to experience its land Sabbaths, man. Yeah. It's going to produce its full increase, man. Hey, because the earth, first off, the earth is weak and it's defiled under the habits thereof, you know. And also the earth is not going to yield its full potential unto Cain, unto Esau, Edom. Why? Because that's the curse that was put on him, man. So here it is, this devil ruling the whole earth. The earth not going to produce its full potential. So right when the righteous get back into the authority, man, hey, the earth is going to yield its full potential, you know. The corn also represents what this knowledge going to be spread out through all the earth, like it is written in Isaiah the 60, Isaiah the 2nd chapter, Micah the 4th chapter. All these heathens are going to come up to Jerusalem to come desire our knowledge, man. According to Zechariah the 14th chapter, man, they going to all have to come and celebrate our high holy days, you know. We're going to rule these heathens with a rod of iron, man. This is the message of the Bible. This is the gospel. This is the good news, man. Here's the faith and the patience of the saints. Hey, the times of these goddamn devils is over, man. The time of the Gentiles is over. You see? That's the message that Yahweh Shah told the disciples when he told them to go out and preach and say the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The time of these heathens is over with, man. He will no longer lead us into captivity anymore, O daughter of Zion. Like it says in Lamentations, the 4th chapter. It's it, man. Go ahead, bro.
It says, I got a quick one.
Yep.
Well, actually, no, it's not that quick, so I'm going to jump back. This is Psalms chapter 72 and verse 17. It says, his name shall endure forever. His name shall be continued as long as the sun, and men shall be blessed in him. All nations shall call him blessed.
And men shall be blessed in him. So how are we receiving the blessing? It's in Yahweh Shai, and Isaac shall thou seed be called, which Isaac is Yahweh Shai, man, according to Galatians, the 3rd chapter. You know, not unto seed as to many, but as a seed unto one, unto thy seed, which is Yahweh Shai. You know, roughly paraphrasing.
Verse 18, blessed be the Lord Yahweh, the power of Israel, who only doeth wondrous things. And blessed be his glorious name forever, and let the whole earth be filled with his glory. Amen, amen. The prayers of David, the son of Jesse, are ended.
Mm-hmm. That was a mighty ass outro, too.
Yeah, God. This is Isaiah chapter 16, verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
Yep.
Verse 13, the glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary.
Hey, and that's precious wood, man. You know, when you go through the building, when King Solomon was constructing the temple, when he was going through the building of the temple, he would get all those precious woods. He would overlay them with gold and with silver, man. You know. So, hey, man, our kingdom gonna be luxurious, man. The streets gonna be paved in gold with different precious stones and everything, man. Tobit explains that, you know. Revelation explains that. It's somewhere else too that speaks about the gold in the streets too. But go ahead.
It says, and I will make the place of my feet glorious.
And that's talking about the whole earth, man. The Lord said, heaven is my throne and earth is my footstool. That's the place of his feet. So this place is going to return back to what I done, which is a paradise of joy. You know, that's what this earth is going back to, man.
It says, the sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and all they that have despised thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet, and they shall call thee the city of the Lord Yahweh, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep going.
It says, verse 15, whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee.
What was that talking about? Is that not the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man? You see? These motherfuckers hate us so much that we can't be the children of Israel. You know, hey, what did that bitch say on the line? If hold on, if Jesus was black, why y'all go into slavery? You know, basically ain't no way in hell that you niggas, it ain't no way in hell that Jesus is black. Ain't no way in hell that you niggas are the children of Israel. You know? This is the mindset of these people, man. Go ahead.
It says, whereas thou hast been forsaken and halted, so that no man went through thee, I will make thee an external excellency, a joy of many generations.
An eternal excellency, man. Eternal means forever. Forever. Forever, forever, ever, forever, ever. Go ahead.
It says, thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles and shall suck the breast of kings.
Meaning what? That we're going to take their resources, man. All their precious minerals, their different incense and silks and clothing and fruits, women. You understand? All this is coming unto Israel, baby.
And thou shalt know that I, the Lord Yahweh, am thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
For brass I will bring gold.
This is our hope, man. This is what we waiting on. This is what we waiting on, man. This wasn't promised to nobody else. This was promised unto the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man. Nobody else got into there. Like Denzel told that old ass Edomite on the Book of Eli. You know, Denzel told old girl, yeah, we gonna make it out of here. The spirit told me we gonna make it out. Dude said, what about us? Didn't mention you, man. Hey, the spirit didn't mention y'all on all this, man. You know, I'll tell you where they did mention you. It mentioned you with continual employment, man.
Yeah.
It mentioned you with having chains around your neck and around your wrists and ankles, man. You see? It mentioned you about sleeping in a pit. It mentions about us rendering you double unto what you gave us, man. This is the message. Once again, this is the gospel. This is the good news, man. And as Yahweh Shah said, it's glorious in our eyes.
That's right.
Go ahead, bro.
It says, for brass I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood, brass, and for stones, iron.
And when you read King Solomon, you know, the things he had, it said that he had gold as an abundance of brass, if I'm not mistaken. And he had silver as it was iron, man. You know? King Solomon's kingdom was luxurious, man. It was laid out. It was wonderful. And guess what? Yahweh Shah said, even King Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed as one of these. One of what? He was talking about the lily. Who was the lily, man? It's talking about the elect of Israel, man. Sirach, it says what? Let us flourish like a lily, man. Roughly paraphrasing. So even in King Solomon and all his glory and all he had, it ain't going to compare to what the elect men are going to receive in the kingdom of heaven. That's heavy. As it is written, I have not seen, ear have not heard what the Most High have prepared for them that wait upon him, man. These heathens ain't waiting on the Lord.
It says, I will also make thy officers peace and thine exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation and thy gates praise. The sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord Yahweh shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy power thy glory.
And that's talking about what? We always gonna have this knowledge, man. It ain't gonna be no darkness. It ain't gonna be no wickedness within our kingdom. Because there's still gonna be a sun in the kingdom. It's still gonna be moon. Those things are perpetual decrees. The sun and the moon it's gonna be there forever. So that ain't saying that it's not gonna be a sun or a moon in the kingdom. No, it's talking about we're not gonna lose this knowledge, man. You know? We're not gonna lose this knowledge, man. The kingdom of heaven, man, we can't even fathom it, man. This wretched ass body can't even start to think about the things that we're going to receive, you know?
It says, thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for the Lord Yahweh shall be thine everlasting light, and thy days and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. Thy people also shall be all righteous.
Hey, because he said what? He's going to wipe away tears from all eyes, man. Who was he to? Who was that talking to? It wasn't talking to these heathens, man.
Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord Yahweh, will hasten it in his time.
Hey, and that's how the 2/3 of Israel is going to be brought back, man. You know? Hence, all Israel shall be saved, as it says in the book of Romans.
The Lord said that he's going to hasten it in his time, man. Meaning that as soon as the kingdom is established, man, we're gonna be popping a lot of women, all right? We're going to be enjoying our kingdom. We're going to be beating a lot of ass, giving these heathens the judgment that's written. All right, pursuing the Psalms 149th chapter, man.
Yep.
It's going to be glorious, man. All right, all our mourning is going to be wiped away, all the tears, all the sorrow, man, everything, working paycheck to paycheck, all right? You know, 9 to 5s, all that, man, it's going to be wiped away. And in the kingdom of heaven, man, we're going to be on a continual, everlasting vacation, man. Just like these Edomites, these CEOs, man. All right, they tell all their employees what to do. They pick up the phone, yeah, do this and that and the third, make it happen. Hang up, go back on the cruise, enjoy their drinks, you know, enjoy their women and everything like that, man. Have an ease of mind, man. We're going to be in that estate, man, you know, and that's what we're fighting for, man. We're fighting for only what the Lord already promised us, man.
Yep. Hey, this is Isaiah 25:7. And he shall destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations, which when you read the book of Ezekiel, it let you know that Esau, Edom, that anointed cherub that covereth, he's the one that spread the veil over all nations. He's the one that changed the names of the lands, called them after himself. He set himself up as God. He's Micah, the 2nd chapter. He oppressed a man in his heritage. He set himself up. He's the Israelites. He's the Egyptians. He's the Philistines. He's the last samurai. You see what I'm saying? So now what? His skirt being lifted. Now he's being exposed, man. So now the veil is being lifted. Now everybody knows he's the goddamn devil that the Bible speaks of. The Chinese is Moab, the dirty rat eating goose. They brother Ammon, the dirty foot ass Hamites, man, who like to stick their heads up cows' asses, man. You know, funk ass Elam and Ishmael, so forth and so on, man. This is verse 8. He will swallow up victory. Salakia, he will swallow up death and victory, and the Lord power will wipe away tears from off all faces. And the rebuke of his people, did it say the rebuke of all people? It says, in the rebuke of his people shall he take away from off all the earth, for the Lord hath spoken it, man. So when we read about what the days of our mourning is ended, it's talking about Israel, because he's going to wipe away all tears from off our eyes. This is Revelation 7:17. It says, verse 15, therefore are they before the throne of the Most High, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. Meaning what? It's talking about the affliction, man. We ain't going to be in the affliction no more. We're going to be in paradise in a joy. We're going to be at peace. It's verse 17. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them into living fountains of water, and the Most High shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, which is the same thing as written in Revelation 21:4. And the Most High shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away, man. You see? And back in this Isaiah 25:8, it says he will swallow up death in victory. Who did that? Yahweh Shai got the victory, man. It's written in 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. Oh, death, where is thy sting? Because through Yahweh Shai, we got the victory over death, man. It says, verse 9, and it shall be said in that day, lo, this is our power. We have waited for him, and he will save us. This is Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. We have waited for him. We will be glad and rejoice in his salvation, man. That's coming unto his people that he promised unto them. You see? So the time of the Gentiles is at an end, man. Through the Holy Spirit, we went through the different kingdoms, you know, broke down the different visions. Pretty much explained the time of the Gentiles, man, how we were getting fucked up. We were getting scattered throughout all the earth, throughout these different kingdoms that we were put into, man. Now it's the time for us to be redeemed out of these kingdoms, to be redeemed out of these nations, you know, to be placed back into our rightful position. According to Deuteronomy 28:1, man, the Lord is going to put us above all these heathens, man, above all these people. Deuteronomy 7:6, you know, I believe it's Deuteronomy 14:2. You see?
This is kind of 2 Ezra 7:51. But understand thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like thee. For unto you is paradise open, the tree of life is planted, the time to come is prepared, plenteousness is made ready, a city is builded, and rest is allowed, yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. And this is what we have to. This is what we have coming for us, man. As long as we continue to endure unto the end in this faith, all right, maintaining our faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, the promises, man. All right, him bringing these prophecies to pass, man. You know, it says, the root of evil is sealed up from you, weakness and the moth is hid from you, and corruption is fled into hell to be forgotten. Sorrows are passed away, and in the end is showed the treasure of immortality. So this is what we have, man. We're right at the brink of us receiving the promises that we've been waiting on from generation to generation to generation, man. The scripture says in the book of Psalms, the 16th chapter, at the right hand of the Heavenly Father are pleasures forevermore. Mm-hmm. And what? Who's sitting at the right hand? Yahweh Shai. But what did Yahweh Shai say, man? So he that overcometh will I grant him to sit at my right hand, being the joint heir with him, man. So what? We gonna have pleasures forevermore, man. This is what's to come, man. All right. And what are these heathens gonna have? Miseries forevermore, man. Destruction forevermore, man. While we enjoying all the goodness and the glory and the mercy of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man, to receive the kingdom, man. Yep.
That 1,000 years of hardcore slavery, man. And after that, these heathens get to go back, you know, and live accordingly to us.
And enjoy the planet Earth, man.
Yep.
All right, these heathens ain't gonna have to worry about chemtrails being sprayed in the air. All right. Their women being indoctrinated to be sluts.
Yep.
You know?
Committing adultery.
Nah, man.
Ain't gotta worry about nobody checking for their son or their daughter, the pedophilia, the madness, man. Yeah. You know, ain't gotta worry about GMO foods. You see?
World peace, you know? That's what we're gonna amalgamate into, man. The word of the Lord, the laws, those being implemented, man, and being enforced, you know, that's gonna bring in joy and happiness, man.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. All these heathens get to go back and live accordingly, man.
That's right.
They're gonna be tributaries unto us.
That's right.
Esau Edom going to be eradicated off the face of the earth, man. You know, his ass going to the fire. You see? I guess we'll end it on this. This is 2nd Esdras 5 and 35. And he said unto me, I started 34. And I said, no, Lord, but a very I started 32. It says, and he said unto me, hear me, and I will instruct thee, hearken to the thing that I say, and I shall tell thee more. And I said, speak on, my Lord. Then said he unto me, thou art sore troubled in mind for Israel's sake. Lovest thou that people better than he that made them? So no, let me just keep reading. It says, and I said, no, Lord, but a very grief have I spoken. For my reins pain me every hour, while I labor to comprehend the way of the Most High and to seek out part of his judgment. And he said unto me, thou canst not. And I said, wherefore, Lord? Whereunto was I born then? Or why was not my mother's womb then my grave, that I might not have seen the travail of Jacob and the wearisome toil of the stock of Israel? So just like all of us, man, we hate the condition that our people are in, hate seeing the state that our people in, man. You know, the suffering, the atrocities that's going on throughout this earth, right? It says, verse 36, and he said unto me, number me the things that are not yet come. Gather me together the drops that are scattered abroad. Make me the flowers green again that are withered. Open me the places that are closed, and bring me forth the winds that in them are shut up. Show me the image of a voice, and then would I declare to thee the thing that thou laborest to know. And I said, O Lord, that bearest rule, who may know these things but he that hath not his dwelling with men? So he ain't no man on the earth can do and know them things, man, right? He said, as for me, I am unwise. How may I then speak of these things whereof thou askest me? Verse 40, this is the point. Then said he unto me, like as thou canst do none of these things that I have spoken of, even so canst thou not find out my judgment, or in the end, the love that I have promised unto my people, man. And that's wooed. I'm wooed every time I read that, and that's comforting as all hell, man. I have not seen, ear have not heard what the Most High got prepared unto those that hope in his righteousness, man. You see, none of us can do those things, man. So in the end, we don't know what the Lord got prepared for us, man. We know it's just glory and glory, you know. Hey, so with that, man, we hope this lesson was edifying. You know, we give all praise, honor, and glory be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, salutations to all you brothers who preach the gospel in truth and in sincerity, always in charity. And shalom to all you brothers on the comment board, the water for tuning in. Shalom. Shalom.